interviewed David Haye and Dereck Chisora this morning as a part of an official investigation into the events of last night's press conference Brawl. That's according to a Munich criminal police spokesman. Let's get the very latest on this story from Dereck Chisora's promoter, Frank Warren, who joins us on the line now. Frank, good morning to you. Are you embarrassed by what happened last night?
Yes, I thought it obviously, I'm very passionate about boxing, and it's something obviously the sport doesn't need, and it was, something I hope never happens again.
Do you share any blame in this, though? Because from what we can see on the footage, it looks like both you and Dereck Chisora are goading David Haye.
Well, let me just, I don't know what you've seen on the footage. I don't see how you can say that. David Haye appeared at a press conference, which was for a fight between Dereck Chisora and Vitaly Klitschko. And the post-fight press conference was about what had happened during the fight, with all the interested parties giving their views. David Haye was then calling out Vitaly Klitschko, and he was told by Klitschko's manager, Bernd Bonn, that they were not interested in fighting him. He'd had his chance. And then Bernd Bonn suggests, why don't you fight Dereck Chisora? And then I said to Bernd Bonn, and the winner then to fight Klitschko. And he nodded. And then from there, David Haye then shouted out, why would I fight him? He's lost, etc., etc. And it went from there. So, and for you to say that is wrong, and that certainly did not happen.
Well, Frank, from what we can see and hear on the tape, it sounds like Dereck Chisora is saying, what about your toe, repeatedly, which is a reference, of course, to...
We know what the reference is to David Haye, who claimed that he hurt his toe in his fight against Klitschko's brother, Vladimir. And he said, he was saying, you lost your last two fights, and he came back saying to him, what about your toe, or some nonsense like that. At the end of the day, all that is childish, but it's what it led to, which was unacceptable.
But how would
to blame Dereck Chisora for it is wrong. It takes two to do what happened, and it just got out of hand, and it's unacceptable what happened. But Dereck Chisora got hit in the face with a bottle.
Do you know who hit him?
No, I don't. I couldn't see it, and no more than I could see it. No more than Kevin Mitchell you had on earlier, who's 5'1", 5'2" tall. I was on a podium, I couldn't see it, and that room had 250 people in there, post-fight press conference, and he was the other side of the room, so he seemed to get a better view than I did, and I don't know how that was possible, but I listened to what he said this morning, and I can tell you that is impossible. If you look on the film, you study the film, as Dereck Chisora walks up, he's got the microphone in his hand to say whatever he's got to say to Dereck Chisora, to David Haye. The microphone in his hand. So hardly the actions of somebody who wants to go and have a fight.
But Frank, we're just watching the footage again there. What Dereck does is fairly provocative. He walks right up to David and pretty much puts his head against David Haye. So, given what he'd been saying earlier about his foot, you wouldn't agree that Dereck's actions were fairly provocative?
I think both their actions were provocative, if you want to put it that way. No more so than David Haye with the derogatory comments that he made towards Dereck.
How would you describe Dereck's state of mind, given that there's also reports that he's threatened to shoot Haye?
He said, I've been glassed. He said, I've been hit in the face. He said that I was glassed. That's what he said. And then he went on to say something stupid like that. Listen, all stupid, ridiculous, unacceptable. Whatever the Boxing Board of Control, when they have their hearing on this, they'll determine what they decide. They will decide what they're going to do regarding the people involved. And as regarding the police were with us last night, and in fact came back to the hotel to ensure that Dereck got back to the hotel okay and left. And I just heard just now saying that the police were going to have an investigation into it. But as of last night, there was no action being taken by them.
What do you expect to happen now then, Frank, in terms of Dereck Chisora's career and indeed David Haye's? Would you expect sanctions of some kind, a fine or even a ban?
I would expect the Boxing Board of Control to review all the evidence, review all the video evidence. I've seen lots of. You've seen one film that's there. I've seen a lot of. There was some film taken on telephones, which the police looked at last night, and I actually see it as well. So I'm sure all that stuff would be put, all that evidence be put before the Boxing Board of Control if indeed they do call them. I don't know if David Haye is actually still licensed as a boxer by the British Boxing Board of Control, but if he is, they will call him. Dereck Chisora is, and then they will determine what the what they will do, whether the guys will be fined, banned, or whatever. But that will be for them to decide.
Frank, it's a shame, isn't it? Because it's actually overshadowed what was a pretty decent performance from Dereck.
Exactly, and I think that's why I think that's why Dereck was getting upset during the thing, because it was a great performance from him. He went in as a huge underdog, and it's the first time that Lennox Lewis had gone the distance. I think for quite a while. That's his fourth time in his career, and I think that's the toughest fight he's ever had since Lennox Lewis. There were times in there that Dereck, who's relatively a novice, he's only had 17 fights. Was giving him problems. He certainly forced the pace, and as you say, that what's happened afterwards has really it's overshadowed it. We could have done, to be quite honest, looking back on it, benefit of hindsight, the whole thing. David Haye should not have come to the press conference. He don't come to the press conference. Probably all that stuff doesn't happen, but it has happened, and the Boxing Board of Control will do something about it, and get to the bottom of who's responsible.
Okay, Frank, one final thought. Would you like to see David Haye and Dereck Chisora in a ring?
If it's the old adage, isn't it? If you've got differences, if there's a problem, that's the place to settle it. Certainly not brawling on the floor in a press conference in Hamburg.
Frank Warren, many thanks for joining us this morning and giving us your side of the story. Extraordinary scenes in Munich, and just to confirm that the police are investigating what happened in that brawl after the bout.
Absolutely fascinating to get Frank's view on that, actually. I mean, it's quite an honest, refreshing approach that he takes to it. I mean, you expect from Frank Warren, but it's...
Sure. He's hugely experienced. Yeah. You know, he's been in boxing for decades, and he's seen it all. But for him to say that it was an embarrassing night for the sport is fairly revealing.
It's quite something, isn't it? Charlie, thank you. Let's find out what's happening weather-wise.